Hello, this is John Speelman with the video version of my latest column on chess space, which is number 188. I've checked now that we are recording, so let's go over to something a bit nice to look at. So this is column 188, which I've called, perhaps slightly disingenuously, some very gentle pleasure and mild to medium irritation. So a long time ago, is it 5 years or something? 6 years, did I say? May 2016, so actually nearly 7 years ago, I started this column as an agony column. So that's like an agony uncle, where in a newspaper, or an agony auntie, but I'm an uncle obviously, where you send your problems in and they discuss them. And so I said, please send your games, your triumphs and your disasters, and I'll have a look at them and say what I think about them. While being reasonably nice, always. I'm never too critical because, well, I just know how stupid I can be myself. And today I'm demonstrating this with two of my own games from the 4NCL last weekend. I've perhaps been slightly disingenuous in the sense I've said some gentle pleasure. I won a game very quickly on the Saturday, so today I'm doing this on Friday, so this will come out on Sunday. But last Saturday I won very quickly against a guy who'd beaten me the year before. But he's an Irish guy who probably wanted to go and watch the rugby, and it all just went horribly wrong for him very, very quickly. So that was nice, but it's not sort of a huge buzz. I mean, if I beat some enormously strong grandmaster, then I would feel a much stronger emotion. One of the world, that would be fantastic. But I mean, this guy is a very good player, and he did beat me up last year, but this time I got him. And then on the Sunday, I played Conor Murphy, who's a very good Irish player, another Irish player, and I didn't play very well. He outplayed me. He should have won easily. He let it slip, and then just at the end, I did something really, really stupid, which annoyed me. Now, is it mild irritation, medium irritation? I'm not spitting sort of cannonballs, whatever you spit, but I'm not very pleased about what I did. Not very pleased with myself. However, it has given me a column. So I've got these two games, and I hope you enjoy them. And I said the 4NCL, of course, we had this, not ridiculous, but this complicated system with 16 teams playing 11 rounds in the division, which was tried for about 2 or 3 years in France and then discarded. We kept it on for yonks. And the reason, I mean, of course, you don't want to have lots of teams demoted one year, but it did make it a bit odd. Better to have an all-play-all, and this all-play-all has been slightly engineered, so the best teams will play in the last 2 weekends. The next one's, I think, 18th of March or something like that. And that'll be 2 rounds and then 3 rounds about May, beginning of May. And so 3 teams have still got a perfect match record. That's my team Wood Green, White Rose, and Manx Liberty, who won last year. Anyway, let's go off with the games. So there are these, I've put this down here for easy access. And first there's the game with Killian Delaney, who did me such damage last time I played him. And actually my eyes are a bit tired, so I'm going to wipe my glasses. So I hope I can read this. Last season he had a very impressive game, blah, blah, blah. And what am I giving? Why the hell is that short game there? That is because I pasted it into the wrong place. I was trying to do that for somebody yesterday to show them some game, and that got put in there by mistake, so we'll remove that. I pasted it into the wrong game. So he played c5. He played c5 against Gawain earlier in the season, and Gawain played e4, but I played c4. e6, slight surprise, they normally bring a knight out, either knight f6 or knight c6. And of course black can play d4 at any moment, really. But he went knight c6 first, and then he went, to my surprise, d takes c4. I mean, knight f6 is the main move, d4, and you get a Catalan. D takes c4. You can Well, you can either go c takes d5, and if knight takes, and either or knight takes d4, that's a semi-tarash. E takes d5 is a tarash, or you can play d4 takes, and now I tend to play d takes c5. Yesterday in Dusseldorf, as I'm doing this, Wesley So played queen a4, which is the old main line, and we'll say that is the old main line. Wesley So won a nice game. Game v Jan Christoph. Can I do Christoph? KRZYSZTOF. Duda yesterday. Duda yesterday as I'm recording this. And I can pick up that game. It was in Dusseldorf. I'd probably have to go to a different website to pick it up most easily. That would be quite a quick thing to do. I suppose I don't know if I want to do that. But anyway, you can find it. It's So against Duda. Good game. Duda made a blunder in the opening, was absolutely splattered. Anyway, but he played d takes c4, which is a slight surprise to me. I mean, d4 also is possible, but you normally wait for white to play b3 before you play d4, and that's more. That makes more sense because b3 is losing a tempo. I think d4, d3 must be playable. I went knight a3, and now I thought he might go e5 here. Knight takes pawn e4. If I go knight e5, takes queen d4, I look incredibly stupid. And I don't resign, I play knight takes f7, but I foam at the mouth with fury at myself. And that would not have been a good game. So that would have been a bit unfortunate. I mean, I can play knight f7 and queen c2 and pretend I have a position, but obviously I don't. And anyway, but I mean, you just go knight e1. And you're going to play d3, get your boys out, and it's going to be okay. I mean, you have a lead in development. Leads in development matter. They don't necessarily translate into something concrete, but here I feel it's going to be at least plus equals. Anyway, he went bishop b7, takes knight f6, b3. And I really like this position because I haven't had to play queen to a4 takes c4 to c2 or something. Or somewhere else. I've just been, or sometimes it goes to h4, it did in the So game actually. But I've just managed to get my pieces developed really quickly, and I thought this must be at least plus equals. I think that's fair. He played knight d5, which is not a great move. Probably castles, bishop b2. If knight d5, now d4 is certainly clearly better for me. Queen c7, knight c5 is a good move. And probably he has to try bishop d7, really. And so I get a clear advantage. I mean, I can take his bishop if I want to. And the game continues, but it's a lot nicer for me than for him. Would have been a pleasure. Right, but he went knight d5. Let's go to there. And I played bishop b2, bishop f6. And I thought, can I play e4 and try to win at once? e4, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes knight, have to take the rook because the knight is taking the bishop backwards. And then I looked at pawn takes knight, bishop f6 and thought, can I do something in the white squares? Maybe not. And the engine just says, poof, that's nonsense, actually. And then I also looked at queen takes bishop. So e4, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes knight, bishop takes rook, queen takes bishop, and you have to play knight d4. Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn. Castles, and the engine just says d6, big advantage to white. Now at that stage you've got a pawn for the exchange, so the line it's giving is e4, bishop b2, takes, queen takes, knight d4, takes, castles d6. It says big advantage. Well, I like, obviously white has good compensation for the exchange, but it isn't obvious to me he has a winning position or anything. Maybe if I thought about it a bit, it would be. I just think, oh God, it's so awful for black. Where can he put any of his pieces? Maybe what I should do, actually, I'm looking at this as white, thinking this looks like good compensation. If I turn the board round with Control F and look at it as black, I may think, yuck. That's a perfectly normal reaction. But I wonder if he can play Queen F6, for instance, and what I would do about that. You know, it's not... maybe I just go Knight E5 then or something, Bishop D7, and I don't know. I can take on B7 as well. I'm getting a second pawn in a good position, but it doesn't look completely clear to me. Maybe it is. Anyway, I didn't do that. I did something much simpler. I just took an F6. He can't really take with the Queen because I got Knight D6. Also, I can actually play E4, which I hadn't thought about that yet. But in fact, there's rather a lovely variation that goes like this. I can't play Knight takes D4 because of Knight E5, but I go Rook C1. Bishop D7 makes sense. Queen D2. And if he goes Knight A2, there is something really disgusting. Knight A2. Queen D2. Hitting the knight. Knight C3, knight takes pawn. Knight D5, knight takes pawn. Queen to here, takes, queen to there. King to there, knight to there, and I win all these pieces. Incidentally, am I threatened to give a smothered mate now? Almost, with knight checks, knight double check, Queen F8 and Knight E7. He might be able to play King E8 instead. But anyway, I've won all his pieces in this position and he can resign. So that was pretty, but I mean not so much to do with the game. Anyway, after Bishop F6, he played Knight F6. And now his problem is he's just lacking in development. So I go Rook C1, castles. I thought maybe he'd try to do something, Rook B8 or something, but I mean, it's Knight E5 is still going to be very unpleasant. And, or Queen C2 maybe first, I don't know. Have I given, if Rook C8, Rook B8, what should I do here? Let me ask Its Majesty. Because I'm looking at Knight E5 takes, Queen D4. It's saying Queen C2 simply. So now I can't really go, if he goes B6, I play D4, do I? And I'm blasting him to hell. Sort of as you'd expect, isn't it? I mean, pawn takes pawn, knight C5, takes. Sorry, and you just look at this position and think, my God, this is unpleasant. And yeah, Bishop D7, probably Bishop C6 it says actually, is what it wants to do, because then you can take and go Knight C6, but presumably Rook D1 is, or Knight D7, Rook D1 must be very close to winning. Okay, so he actually castled, and I went Knight C5, and he's a tempo short of having a decent position, or maybe 2 tempi. The problem is he can't play B6, obviously. If he goes Queen D6, I go Knight D3, Knight D7, Queen C2, and I'm just going to win a pawn easily. There are some amusing lines. For instance, if Rook B8 takes, if he takes this, say, I can go probably Queen A7. It says Bishop D7. Oh, that just wins, doesn't it, completely? That totally wins. Bishop D7, Rook to there. That is the end of the game. I think I was looking at some silly line that went something like Queen here, Rook there, Queen takes pawn, and then I wanted to go, I don't know, I wanted to go Queen D6, Rook C7, and Queen takes Rook check in some position. Oh no, I know, that's after F6, excuse me. That's a different line. Okay, so he went Queen A5, Queen to there, Knight D5. And he's trying to get play, but I just defend my pawn. I mean, I'm not in a rush. And he could have tried, played B6, he plays F6, my best line actually is to go here, here. Sorry, not queen to there. Excuse me. Overwrite. Let me delete this. Promote variation. Sorry about that. Promote variation. Delete stupid variation. Delete variation. Queen a6, say, and then knight to there is a very excellent move. If he takes, I mean, he's got nothing he can do really. If he takes, he can't even get his bishop out. If he goes here, I can go take, presumably take, and something awful is going to happen. Exactly what awful is going to happen we'll work out in a moment. Rook e1, queen g4, it's saying, I don't know, something that's quite queen h5, queen g4. I don't know why queen g4 particularly. Anyway, obviously I'm winning by several tempi. By the way, queen h5, I can probably go, what do I do after queen h5? Maybe queen e7 or something. Rook e7 it says. And obviously I'm completely splatting him. I mean, it doesn't require a genius to see that you're going to do something appalling to black very, very quickly. Bishop g4. Queen b4 it says actually, so can I not play queen c7? This is not, by the way, I wanted to have one more, normally have one more variation. I must have played a minus at some point. I mean, I wouldn't have to do this. Rook d, knight e3, rook d8. What else could I do? Takes d4 would be completely winning, wouldn't it? And queen c5 it likes, actually. Queen c5 immediately. Queen a2. Rook e1. Yeah, I mean, the whole position is just a disaster area. Anyway, he actually blundered slightly. I mean, the engines go ping, that's a bad move, but it doesn't really matter. And I get to take this for nothing. And I get to play d4, so all my boys are playing, which is lovely. And he played takes, which is not. Takes. If he goes bishop h3, I have rook h4, and bad things happen. Queen to there, queen to there. And to my slight surprise, he resigned. I thought he'd probably play queen to there, takes, rook d8. Now, I can't play rook f7 because of bishop e6. That would be unbelievably stupid of me. But I can do almost anything else. I can play e3, actually, is not quite as clear as I would. There's an annoyance that if I go bishop h3, takes, he plays rook c8. And the bishop ending is merely winning rather than completely over. And I would have been very disappointed to reach that. But okay, but I can probably, I mean, a sensible move is to play rook a7, actually. Because I'm going to be able to play e4. If bishop e6, I don't know, e4, f5, rook c4, I mean, it's just completely, I end up completely winning. This is not even interesting. Take. Well, I could go here if I was unkind. And, yeah, I mean, he's b to d8. Okay, now we'll go there. So now he's got to go, I don't know, f4 it is saying. Does that really help? I assume I can take on g7. f3, h4. Really doesn't look like a position in which there's going to be a problem, does it? Well, let's take actually first, take override. Because that means he doesn't get to play h5. And how is he possibly going to get play in this position? Let's be reasonable about this. So, I mean, something like that. Anyway, he resigned after queen c7, and we both went and watched the rugby, which was very edifying. So, that was that game, and it was very easy, much easier than most games I play. Then I played Conor Murphy on Sunday, and he beat me, but it was quite a big battle. So e4, c6, knight e3, d5, d3. I thought he'd do this. I thought he might do this. And I played queen c7, which I suppose is a reasonable move. Knight c3 annoys my pawns. Take. And you should probably go e5 now, really. e5, bishop c4, h6. And the knight isn't very good in c3. If the knight was in a better square, then it would be a little bit perturbing maybe. You are a couple of tempi down in development, but you've got a good, decent position, haven't you? You're going to be all right, I think. Get your boys out. I mean, yeah, but I went bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, and the more I looked at this, the more I thought I'm being provocative, as usual. Now he must go g4, and he did, otherwise I played knight e5, and I'm very okay. He went there. I don't know, perhaps bishop e7's wrong. I was expecting knight f5 now, and I wanted to go bishop f6. I had this line. Bishop somewhere, e3 or somewhere, castle, takes, knight e7. And I'm attacking his f5 pawn, and I just thought I was okay here. I didn't think. I thought knight e4 might be a mild nuisance, but I mean, I'll take an f5 and win a pawn or something if he does. So it's not going to be... It seemed to me that I would be okay here. I would have enough time to be very active. But he went back to g2, which is a bit more... Which was my first thought, of course. I mean, I think taking on g6, I don't really rate, because I'm going to get in g5 and control the dark squares. I think that's dubious. Knight g6, dubious, I would say. Maybe, I'm just going to ask the engine if it has some cleverness it can do now. It wants to go g5, yeah. I think I did want to go rook h4 here. And I thought, yeah, f4 I will take. And this position, I have a lot of dark squares. I understand my development isn't great, but everything else about my position is rather wonderful. Yeah, it's saying f4, rook f4. Okay. Rook d8 or so. And the game continues. I mean, it's a battle, isn't it? He's got terrible dark squares. He has got the exchange, though. Okay. That's interesting. But I didn't expect that. He played knight g2. And now I thought about trying to play some line where I left the bishop and allowed f4, f5, but I played e5. Actually, the engine doesn't like that much. It says, so it's saying castle's queenside. Let's have a look at what it says. f4 is the move I'm frightened of. h5 it wants to go. f5, queen g3 check. King f1, then it wants to go hg4. And what's going to happen? King f1, hg4, and if bishop f4, queen f3 check. That's going to be okay for me, presumably. Take. I didn't calculate any of this. Takes, knight f8. Good move. Takes, knight h6. And it's saying it's about equal. Okay. I didn't calculate any of this. I went e5. h4, h5, g5 is quite clever. Bishop b4. Probably I should have played bishop d6. Because now f4 is given as good by the engines. I didn't... Bishop d2 he actually played. Knight e7, a3 here. Somewhere around about here, what I should have done is to get b5 in whenever I could. Because if I get in b5, then I've got b4 in lots of positions. I'm fairly active. The thing is, I didn't play b5, and then I got nervous he'd sacrifice if I played it. At this moment, it's obviously ridiculous, or fairly ridiculous, I think. And so I should have gone b5 now. Knight e3 he played. Engine says rook f1 is very good to play for f4. He played knight e3. I got in knight c5, which is quite nice. f3, and now I definitely should have played b5. Again, I was worried he'd go take, and I didn't want to bother to calculate it, but it's too lazy. Take here, knight c4, castles, take here, and okay. I mean, it's a position. The game continues, but he hasn't got really enough for the... If knight takes c6, I don't know which way I recapture, probably with the knight, I suppose. And I'm going to have a knight on f4, I'm assuming. So, if I'd had a little bit more gumption and been prepared to calculate, then that would have been a lot better. But I went a5, He castled. Now I certainly can't play b5, I assume, because I'll get splatted somehow. So I castled and he played a4 exclam. And now I realised about now, well, I didn't realise what was going on. I looked at knight a4 rather, and I thought it probably doesn't work. I didn't realise that this is so strong for him. I should have done. But I put my rook on the wrong square. It turns out you need to overprotect e5, and rook f e8, rook f d8 is a bad move. If you play rook f e8, it's actually okay. I played this, very good move. Now I should go knight d7 or something, or knight e6. I'm just in trouble now. The thing is, he has a tempo now. If my rook was in e8, I could play knight b6 and the game would continue. And it would be, who knows what would happen. It would be a mess. But as it is, I was wondering if he, say my rook was in e8. Let me just do that. I was wondering if he could go bishop a2 here, knight c4, bishop f8, queen h2, knight b6, f4 I was wondering about. Knight takes c4, f5, that's right, I was wondering about this. Knight d2, I was just thinking about this while I was talking to you. Pawn takes here, knight d to b3 check. I had got to here actually, that's where I'd got to. Probably I play knight e6 now. I can go f takes as well, of course. b4 check, knight e6. And I can protect my knight, and then I'm going to be reasonably okay, or the game's going to continue anyway. B takes a5, king h7. And as soon as I've unpinned, I'm okay. Okay, that's interesting. But rook f d8 was a very serious mistake. And I got and he went knight c4, bishop f8. I think I had to try to queen to there, rook to there, f4. And I'm basically lost now. If I go knight e4, knight e5, maybe I should try this. But obviously it's losing, but at least I'm fighting a tiny bit. Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure I'm lost completely. What I did actually was almost worse. We got to here and I thought, oh, knight e5 is even worse than knight d6. But he went knight d6. Rook d8 was forced completely, I think. Was there any better move? Knight f5. Takes here, and he played bishop c7. The engine says knight d7, but I didn't even really consider that. It's too pathetic to consider. I played knight e6. Queen e5 I'd missed, actually. I was looking at bishop e6, fe6, thinking that's not too terrible. Queen e5. Knight takes, queen takes, knight e7. I just got to play my moves. Actually, if rook e7, you can try bishop takes knight and knight d5, which I didn't see. I was trying to make knight d5 work, but actually that would at least make a bit of a battle. I mean, it's winning, I think. But, okay, he didn't play particularly accurately. He went here. And the stupid engine says that knight c8 is a mistake, but it's completely mistaken. Because although I am totally lost now, at least I get in bishop d6 and I can pretend I'm playing. Obviously, I'm not. So I think he should probably just go and take my white squared bishop, and we should have some sort of race and he wins. That seems to me to be what ought to happen. But in fact what happened was that he played for something he just thought was winning. And he thought that knight takes d5 was winning. That's why he'd played this position. But after bishop takes, b6, takes, b7, bishop f4. I don't play bishop f4, sorry, I play bishop checks first, that's right. Because bishop f4 loses the check and knight takes d5, but bishop f3 check wins for black. So he thought a long time and he played e takes d5, h4, king e1. I don't know if king e1 or king e2 is better. And now I thought that h3, king f2 is pretty hopeless. So I played bishop h5 so that I could then play bishop f4 if you play king f2. That's the point. Now, I did see a clear win here, and I didn't see that knight e2 was legal. I miscounted, which is stupid. The clear win is b6, h3, b7, h2, king g2, bishop f3 check, king takes bishop, pawn equals queen check, king takes bishop. And you glance at this for 3 seconds, and you know there's no way on earth you can win the b7 pawn, no way on earth you can even win a knight, I think. So you're just going to lose. Because knights stop queens from giving checks, so something like, I don't know, queen checks, just go king e4, why not? Queen takes pawn with check, king to there, queen to there, check, king to there, queen to there, check, king to there, and he's about 12 pieces up. But he went bishop knight e2, which is, and now this is the only move I actually really regret in the game. I thought some expletives, I thought, oh, I didn't know he could do that, I'm completely lost, and I took. And I had something like an hour and a half left on my clock. If I could have sat there for 5 minutes cursing, then I could have thought for 5 minutes, then I could have played bishop. This is completely stupid, because after king f1, which is an obvious move to any strong player, and he is a strong player, then I just don't have any chance at all. And I resigned. Obviously the a-pawn or queen. But if we go back to this position, it's actually very fascinating. I started analysing it. I'll give some variations. I think knight g1 is the best move. So b6, here, knight g3, here, bishop to there, king to there, because I'm threatening bishop e4, takes here, f5, and actually I'm already better. Well, no, I don't think I am better, but he's having to make a draw now. He can make a draw. So, you know, I mean, there would even have been 3 possible results at this point. a5, what happened was, I went home on the train and I thought, oh, I must have missed something. And I thought, oh, probably not. But when I give it to an engine, I'm going to curse. And I did. Because as soon as I saw bishop d6 and started seeing the variations, I thought, this is really interesting. And the poor guy, he had about 20 minutes, so he would have been under a lot of pressure, actually. Bishop d6, there's a5 here, check, exclam. And this is also unclear. Here, check, here. And the game continues. I think he has to go a7, because if he goes c4, can he go c4? Maybe. c4, it says c4, king h7. It's obviously a good idea. a7. Takes. Presumably f5 now. King f2, bishop e4, b6, f4, knight h1, bishop b1, and yeah, I mean b7, bishop takes d5, and he's all right, isn't I'm all right, aren't I? So that would have been okay as well. Probably he'd have gone knight g1, I think, actually. But I mean, okay, knight g1, bishop g4. Now king g2 is possible, but then I'm going to have some moves like bishop away and g5, and he has to calculate that. If he goes king g2 is winning, actually a5 is also winning, apparently. Bishop f, bishop c8, king here. This is actually winning, but God knows it's pretty close. But probably he'd have done that in knight g1, I imagine. And I sort of imagined that the pawns were just queen, but I have got 2 bishops, and it's still interesting. So, knight g1, bishop here, g5. Knight to h3 is the best move. Is it knight h3 the best move? b6, bishop c8. Now I have to lose a tempo. Bishop f5. Actually, even this one is interesting. And now king e3 wins, but apparently a6 question mark is only a draw. Question mark. Which, I mean, you can sort of see. And yeah, somehow I've got my pieces over. So he has to go king e3, and he does win, actually. Bishop c5, check, king there, knight to there. He gains some tempi now. Yeah, and he's kicking me around. But I mean, even this, you know, the game continues a little bit. I suppose this doesn't continue very much. Okay, but anyway, so I lost. So I was a bit annoyed with myself, and maybe I'm kidding myself, I was very annoyed. But I don't resent the win at all. I don't mind people beating me if they outplay me. It's annoying, but I'm not as strong as I was. I can still play very well for short periods, but not all the time. So, I hope you've enjoyed my, if not agony and ecstasy, gentle pleasure and mild to medium irritation. And today is Friday, actually, which I'm recording this. So it's Friday the 17th. Sunday will be the 19th. And I will be presumably seeing you on the 29th, 33rd, which should be the 5th, I imagine. Yeah, since there are only 28 days in February, except in leap years, so I'll see you on the 5th of March. So, cheers then.